everybody, James Shepard here, talking to you this week about retention and taking control of the merchant experience. You know, let's face it, agents and even small ISOs in this industry seem to have very little control over the experience of their merchants. I'm talking about things like onboarding processes, billing, the statements that go out, the price increases, the fees that get added, all of these things that happen to merchants that really can contribute to the ridiculously high attrition that we experience in our industry. So for those of you that don't realize this, in our industry, the industry average attrition is a little bit over 20%, meaning every year, 20% or more of merchants are going to cancel their current credit card processor and switch to somebody else. Now, in the past, frankly, I haven't looked at that as like just the worst thing ever because it's like, well, they switched from this processor, they went to this one, they kind of tend to make the rounds, It's bad from a personal perspective when it's your portfolio, but industry-wide, it's not that big of a threat. But this is really becoming a big problem because guess who they're switching to most of the time now? Well, they're switching to Square and Stripe and Toast and all of these other PayFacs that are actually taking away potential accounts from our industry, from the direct merchant services sales professionals. So as we're making these sales, we really need to start thinking about the merchant experience and making sure that we have our arms wrapped around it. And so in this week's edition, I partnered with Secure Bank Card, which is the sponsor of this week's edition, specifically Elena Smith, who does a fantastic job over there. If you're not following her on LinkedIn, you really should. Just look up Elena Smith on LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll find her right away. She has a great LinkedIn presence. She posts a lot of really good content there for ISOs especially. But they're really passionate about giving the individual agent, the more experienced rep, as well as the smaller ISO, giving them actual control over the merchant experience. And I'm talking about, again, things like billing, funding, sending statements out, what fees go on there, the pricing, all of this. And so whether you work with Secure Bank Card or another company, I think it's very important at this time to take a step back and think about the merchant experience. In this week's edition, when I did the audio kind of book version and the PDF download, I talked in there a lot about things like, onboarding smoothly and quickly and getting people on board. When you're onboarding a merchant, the worst thing that can happen is you got to go back and get additional documentation, or there's some kind of glitch, or it takes 2 weeks to get them through underwriting. These are things that really shouldn't be happening for your traditional low-risk physical location merchant accounts. I understand that stuff's going to happen with high risk, but we really need to be at a place in our industry where these things are fully automated and they're just happening really quickly. Full automation for a lot of these onboarding processes. And I think that's really important. You as an individual agent or as a small ISO, you should be pressuring your processor and saying, look, if you want our business, if you want us to send deals, these got to get turned around quickly. The underwriting process should happen very fast. It should be very easy. It should be very predictable. You should know what information you need to get from the merchant and send it through. So that's really important for the experience of the merchant, right? So we need to, number one, we have to get them onboarded smoothly. We want to price competitively. Now, I'm not a big believer in bargain pricing. Let's give them the lowest possible deal. A lot of you are doing cash discounting, flat rate, surcharging, or other programs, but we do want to make sure we're pricing them competitively, and that competitively also means that we're not adding a bunch of junk fees that they're not expecting, right? So we definitely want to make sure that we're keeping people in a competitive pricing structure and not trying to trigger attrition by adding this junk fee and adding that junk fee and doing this price increase and that price increase. We have to be thinking about these things. Now, I realize many of you might understand that some types of price increases don't trigger attrition in the same way, but ultimately every time you add a junk fee or do a price increase, you are making it just a little bit easier for your competitor when they come along to save the merchant a little bit more money and to have a better opportunity to get that sale. So we don't want to drive attrition with that. We want to keep that pricing consistent. I've seen it over and over again with statements that we get at ISO AMP. It's just crazy how many new junk fees and things that come out that are giving a negative surprise to the merchant. So I'm all about pricing the merchant in a way that's going to make us money as an industry. But we've also got to be a little bit careful here and making sure we're not giving the merchant a negative surprise. So we talked about onboarding smoothly. We want to price competitively, and then we want to support consistently. You need to make sure, again, whether you are bringing this experience in-house with a provider like Secure Bank Card and their Pioneer platform where everything is in one platform and you can see the statement, you can see all the details of the transactions and all the customer service and the underwriting and deployment and everything's in one platform, whether you have something like that or not, you do need to make sure that your merchants are receiving consistent support. One of the things I think we're so blessed in this industry is that our merchants really don't require very much support. It's just the truth. I have friends in the payroll processing industry. Most of their customers are going to reach out once every 2 to 3 weeks with something that needs to be done, a new employee needs to be added, or an hourly rate needs to be changed, right? In our industry, people are reaching out once every 6 months, Well, when they reach out, we got to provide a consistent support experience. One of the things I love that Elena Smith is doing at Secure Bank Card, which is a reason I partnered with them on this particular edition, is that they are all about self-service as like a first line of defense. So they have a great call center set up, great support and all that. But what they've realized is as consumers, as customers, none of us really want to call in to this call center anymore, do we? Doesn't matter what it is. We want to just go online and be able to look up and see what's the issue and make the adjustment and fix the problem, watch the video, read the article, whatever we need to do to fix the problem, we want to do it ourselves. And that's something they're passionate about. So the idea here is when you're thinking about the overall merchant experience, we want to reduce attrition. It's a huge competitive disadvantage for us as a merchant level sales, individuals and organizations. And one of the ways we've got to do that is we've got to take control of the merchant experience and make sure you as an experienced agent or a small ISO that you're auditing this and make sure you understand if your merchants are getting a good level of customer support. If not, you need to consider a different processing company and or reach out to your current processing company and demand that they do better and put that pressure on them. So my name is James Shepard. Thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. Head over to ccsalespro.com. We'll have the latest edition of the Merchant Sales Insight posted there. And of course, many of you are on our email list and you'll get that email as well. So thanks again. Have a fantastic rest of your day.